Okay, took a couple days off this time. Some problems with charging, and oh man. Alright, let's get into it. We're gonna do a little more of this. The case against vaccination. Right there. Okay. And we're gonna pick up on day 11, which is mitigation. Right there. Alright. Okay, then they tell us that vaccination will mitigate the disease, that it will make it milder. I should like to have it proved. Yeah, so would here, how are we to know how severely a person is going to have smallpox? Yeah, yeah. If everybody who had been vaccinated had it in a milder form, and every person who was unvaccinated had the smallpox more severely, yeah, there would certainly be some good ground. That there would certainly be some ground for the argument. But we know well enough that long before vaccination was dreamed of, the usual kind of smallpox was the mild. And as Dr. Wagstaff wrote to Dr. Freind, Freind, in 1721, quote unquote, there is one kind of smallpox which the doctor cannot cure, and another kind which the nurse cannot kill. Interesting. Close quotes. That is quite enough to show there were very mild cases of smallpox at the time, and Dr. Plott said in 1677, in speaking of an epidemic at Oxford, tells us that the whole of the cases were extremely mild. Okay. Were extremely mild. And that with proper care they all recovered. So that before ever there was vaccination, there was plenty of mild smallpox. Look at the hospital statistics and see what they say. And see what they have to say. I find from the first published statistics, which are for 1893, I am now speaking from memory, that there were 150 unvaccinated cases and 253 vaccinated, but 1,054 cases were never stated at all. When out of a total of 1,457 cases, over 1,000 are left undescribed. Are left undescribed. Boy. They really want you to have the truth, man. You know, when they leave so many cases just out of the equation, these people really want you to know the truth. And we are not told whether they were vaccinated or not. Oh, so it gets worse. What confidence can you have in such statistics? I say that such statistics are as those upon which vaccinators base their case are nothing more nor less than a fraud. Now, you test the mitigation theory by malignant cases. Mr. Alexander Wheeler proved before the Royal Commission that of those said to be vaccinated, 82% died. And of those with good marks, 85% died. So that the well-marked patients came worse off when vaccination is most needed. Whew. is most needed. The argument we generally get is this. If a person happens to have been vaccinated and he goes through life without catching smallpox, they say, quote unquote, what a splendid thing it is that he was vaccinated. Close quotes. If he has a mild attack, they say, how very fortunate he was vaccinated. Or he would have died. And if a person who has been vaccinated should have the impudence to go and die, then we are coolly told, oh, he had not been vaccinated properly. Oh, man. See, this way, no matter what happens, they win. See? That way, they get to carry on with these mad science experiments and carry on killing people, man. If they have the impudence to die and be part of that negative statistic. If they have the impudence to be vaccinated and then die and make themselves a part of this negative statistic that proves that vaccination doesn't work. Or they just don't get mentioned. They just get left out of the data set, right? And that's what gets foisted onto the rest of us, right? That's what Bill Gates wants, you know? Anyway, in the hospital's statistics of today, you generally find that the unvaccinated people die at the rate of from 30 to 60 and even 80% or higher. And yet, when we come to look at the fatality of the last century and the horrible condition of things which I have mentioned to you, we find that the fatality was only 18%. If, therefore, the fatality of unvaccinated people last century was only 18%, and the average fatality of the present day amongst unvaccinated runs from 30 to 80%, I want to know, like Trelawney's Cornishman, the reason why. Yes, why? I do not believe the doctors of the present day are less competent than those of 100 years ago. Right? And therefore, why double and treble the number of unvaccinated patients who are slipping through their fingers as compared with a century before? It is not for me to explain this. Let them explain it themselves. Mitigation is therefore a sham. I remember that the fingers as compared... I remember that the Duke of Connaught, although vaccinated with the very finest and the most recherch, recherch, and the most recherch lymph, had the smallpox afterwards. And they could not understand it. Now I'm only reading from these papers word for word, so this is a verbatim reading, so unless, obviously, no, I'm going off script. A great deal of interest was aroused upon the point, and the doctors came to the conclusion that His Royal Highness could not have been vaccinated properly. Why, if a royal vaccinator cannot do their work properly, what must you poor wretches expect from the rank and file of the profession? Oh man, I'm gonna leave it at a completely verbatim report right there, and call that the end of this video. We're gonna pick up tomorrow on the number of marks right here, day 12. Okay. All right, guys. I will see you tomorrow. And let me know what you think of this video. Put it down below. Like, share, and subscribe if you like what you are learning here, courtesy of Dr. Walter Hadwin and me. All right. Go with your gut, Patriots.